stop right here. I need to check your documents again. Well, you're Colombian, you never know.
The only time I ever had my papers checked like that was when I was literally on an East German train in the 80s before the Berlin Wall came down. But I remember what that felt like, Lina.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the Voteros Independientes. We have a very special episode today, so bienvenidos. Look, we got Lina in front of the camera today, who I have often referred to as our favorite Colombian in the office, but now she's not only our favorite Colombian, she's also one of our favorite Americans. I can't play favorite. Lina, our producer, I hear you got a big ceremony last week.
Yeah, well, hello, everybody. I'm usually not in the camera. But yeah, I had a good ceremony becoming a U.S. citizen. And yeah, it's a big achievement. I'm not going to lie.
I have a Brazilian wife who went through that process, and it ain't easy. It ain't easy.
Wait, tell us about it. Tell us about it, Lina. Like, first of all, I know that there's some sort of test that you have to take, right? That's harder than that most people who were born here can't even pass. Is that right? Was it hard?
Well, it's easier than you think.
Okay. Yeah, but that's the easy part.
Yeah.
Yeah, like once you get through the test, like you're done with the hard part, right?
Okay. You guys just tell me about it because I'm really in the dark. I really don't know what it takes.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, definitely you have to prepare for the test. The new one, you had to study 128 questions and you had to pass, like, sometimes they say, you had to pass 10, but in my case, it was like you had to pass 6 questions. But you had to learn all of them, right? Because you don't know which one they're going to ask you. Okay. So, yeah, so you go there and it's like to the office.
You think we could answer the questions?
Huh?
You think we could answer the question?
Huh? Well, that's a good, it's actually good because some of the questions I studied with my husband, and I mean, he's really good at stuff, but like some of them, he was like, whoa, I don't even know that stuff.
Exactly.
How long did it take though to get to the test? How long?
To get to the test?
Yeah, like from like you had to first apply, you had your green card, you had your permanent resident.
It's a lot of process because I got it through marriage. Right? Okay. So I had to be married with a U.S. citizen, right? Mm-hmm. You know that part, Chad.
I know.
And then you had to be 3 years with your green card and still be married so you can apply for the citizenship. But if you're not married, you get divorced for any reason and you are on green card, then you had to wait for 5 years to apply for the citizenship.
It's a good incentive to stay married. You have to be nice to your husband for 3 years straight, no problem, right?
Or he had to be good to me.
I better warn Steve, they're citizens now. Life gets getting rougher.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
No, he was like, well, you better be good. I'm just kidding.
Her husband's a very good guy, for the record.
Thank you. Yeah, so I waited for the 3 years.
Since you've been married, right? So you get married, you wait you have your green card, you then wait 3 years. Then what?
Then you had to apply for, in my case, after the 3 years with the green card, you're still in the process that is called removal of conditions to get a permanent green card because you are still in a temporary one. So in my case, they put 2 cases together, which was removal of conditions, also citizenship. So they put 2 cases together. And then now as you apply, then you got to wait, and see when they're going to be like, your case is approved. Let's move on into the next step.
Yeah, for those of you listening, Lina's been our producer. She produced a lot of other shows. She actually didn't get started over here working on, independent voter stuff. I think she thought we were a little crazy, like what a bunch of whack jobs, right? But you started talking a little bit about politics, and we were going over this numbers as we're like, where did all these Latinos come from and Latinas, right? This last election, if you look at California's voting numbers, like nobody's talking about this. Like they go, we had this big turnout. Let's put it in perspective. New York had 9% turnout. California had 42% turnout, literally more than 4 times. But if you drill down into the numbers, really not that, it wasn't that much of a difference. There's two groups of voters that increased, not just a little bit, but like over 10% each. Two classes or two groups of voters, Latinos and independent voters. And there's a big overlap, obviously, right? So I was like, well, let's find one of them. And then you told me you just registered to vote and you're an American. So like, I want to know what's the Latino. I'm interested because, you know, you have your own political situation. Colombia has been a hot topic and, you know, down there, a lot of things going on in South America, but like, you know, I never really talk to you all about politics and where this stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not going to ask your party registration, although we can look it up, but like, you know, what do you look at? You're going to vote for the first time. So what's goes through your mind?
Yeah, no,
you're an
definitely.
American now.
It's a new thing in your brain, right? It's like a new chip because normally I check into politics for my country and I even vote for my country here in the United States. Like I registered also too. So anything that happens with Colombia, I go and I vote. I think it's very important just to use your voice no matter what, you know, and even though I live here, I still have my family and my people in Colombia. So I care about that. And then here, this is my new home, right? I have my husband here. I have my friends that are becoming like my family here. So I care about that. And I think it's very important just to use that and go and vote to make changes, you know, make changes in the system.
So which party is going to save America, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot right here. Well, I'm more into the Democrat Party. So
you think they're the saviors?
So, I won't say that they're the saviors, but I think they have a better vision.
And what about all these people who are no party preference, like Chad and me? Did you feel like you were compelled? So you registered to vote. So after you passed, you became a citizen. At that point, you're allowed to register to vote in the state of California. And so you already went through all that whole process?
Yeah. So when I actually did the ceremony, they are all outside. Like when you finish the ceremony, they're like, oh yeah, you're ready to register? And they're like, yes, I am ready. So you register there and then you can select your party preference immediately, or you can just not leave it blank too.
Right.
You know, they give that option.
Yeah.
So you can select that. And at that moment, I was actually thinking, and I remember when we talked about it in the podcast, and I was like, ooh, it's like, what's my party preference? Should I put it here? Yeah. I'm going to be in those polls.
There you go.
Yeah.
It is. And that's what I mean. The beauty about like California, though, right now, you know, there's folks trying to undo it, is like, it's a preference. I mean, the presidential primary is a whole different discussion, but it doesn't, right? Like you go to New York or most states, once you register as a certain party, that's the only candidates during, at least through the primary, that even matter to you. You're like joining the team and like, that's what it is. But like here, okay, you register as a Democrat, but like, I don't know, maybe somebody's running for office and they're an independent or a Republican and you go, I kind of like them. Doesn't matter. You don't have to change anything. It's like, okay, I'll vote for you in the primary, right? Because I like you, right? So what do you think about that?
No matter how you're registered, that's okay here in California. And there's 3 states where that's okay, right? Alaska, they just had elections yesterday, by the way. California and Washington State. There's only 3 places. Is that right, Chad? Only 3 places in the whole nation.
Only 3 countries where voters.
Countries.
We're basically, I mean, we are the United States of America, at least for now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like any voter can vote for any candidate regardless of party.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned that, because when I was registering and, you know, and they ask you for the party preference, I'm like, what about if later I change my mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can put here as a, you know, Democratic Party, but then later on, like, I don't have a preference. Like, you have all those questions too, like, will this affect later, or like, how does that work? So,
you are allowed to change, right? You are allowed to change in California.
You can, but like we wake up thinking about politics instead of like real life. Like fail to understand. Like, I mean, look at there's millions of people, or over 1 million people registered as American Independent Party, and we've already done the polling that you got to treat them like NPP voters, because most of them don't have no idea that the American Independent Party is actually a party, right?
Right. They were intending to register as independents, and they saw the title American Independent Party, and they thought, oh, that's me because I'm independent.
Which
and they
is
didn't maybe go down the list and see the no party preference to get that's the true.
Correct.
That's
correct.
truly
Like
independent.
it makes sense if you don't wake up thinking about politics. I mean, that's a natural thing to be like, oh yeah, I'm independent. And so like 90% of them, right? But so we always treat them as if they're NPPs, but the increase of NPP turnouts really tracks. I mean, AIP turnout tracked the NPPs. Right? Is that
you mean it followed the same course? Like there was the same sort of increase in that.
Correct.
As there was
as NPPs. In NPPs. It was over 10%.
Yeah. Wow.
Which it's not a lot. It's a tremendous amount, right? So think about this number, this one number alone, right? You have the governor's race, right? Which was decided between a couple 100,000 votes. Okay.
Yeah.
Just NPP voters who had never voted in an off-year primary election. I'm talking about a gubernatorial primary, not the presidential, right? There's not a whole bunch of national media going on.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Almost 650,000 NPP and AIP voters who had never voted in an off-year primary, voted in this year's eletion. And, IVP, I got to take a little... You got to take credit where it is, but Lina knows we ran. All we did, we sent out to every single one that didn't have a high propensity to vote that had already voted, right? So you could expect them to turn out. Why, got very limited resources. But simply tell them,
just go vote.
You have in California, you're one of 3 states where you can vote for any candidate regardless of party. Just go vote. Not how to vote, not what to vote, and we look at the bajillion dollars spent by both sides pushing turnout, telling voters, they got all this stuff. And then you see these news articles, NPPs don't really want to vote because they don't turn out so high and everything. Nobody sent them a mailer. Nobody's told them that they have this right. Why you have a national narrative where people think primaries belong to the political parties, right? But nobody's ever educated them on, no, we have a different system. You vote for anybody you want, right? So that's literally all we told them. And go look up the numbers. It's almost 650,000. And then in total, we had almost 4 million people we were communicating with. Over 1.3 million voted. So their participation was almost as high as the partisan voters who are subject to candidates reaching out to them, the party reaching out to them. All kinds of stuff, right? And having candidates that are part of their party on the ballot, right? And so this whole myth that independent voters don't care, it's absurd. It should be challenged. The nonsense that independent voters are just closet Republicans and Democrats, right? It's nonsense. And it requires people just speaking out and speaking up. And and I think, that we'd have a much better political discourse.
And besides the campaigns and, everything that even in IVP were doing to invite the people to vote, what do you think made that difference? They were more voters this time?
Well, there's always a million factors, but I think literally we sent text messages to millions of people multiple times. And usually, everybody's get these text messages, especially if you're in politics. It's like, donate to me. Oh, I'm the greatest. Oh, this person's going to end the world if you don't vote for me, right? We sent a text message. It was literally, here's your rights. Exercise them. Have a great day. That was it. We didn't try to tell them to vote for anybody or whatever. It was just, hey, you're underrepresented. Maybe you don't know your rights. Here they are. Cast a vote. So, I don't know. Tell me. Look at the numbers, and then that's what changed. I think
great.
The political calculus is so different because they're, Republican, Democrat consultants have the exact same playbook. They do this divide and conquer. But I think when you step back too, and I'm guilty of it just as much as them, is like we think people are like waking up thinking about shit like we are. Like I always say, like people
They're
just want to
not,
vote for
right?
somebody they trust. Like they're not looking for like, who's that person that agrees with me on everything, right? Like
No.
who is basically me, but they're running for office. Right. And like they start from that premise is like, okay, let's do polling, and then like let's tell all the voters that this person's really you, except they have a different name, maybe a different look. And it's absurd. I honestly think that like most people, you disconnect yourself from the political discussion, like they just want to feel good about the person they're electing. Like, I didn't elect you to be me. I'm taking my kids to school and like trying to go to my job. Like, I'm not thinking about these things. Like, you go think about it and make the decision, right? That's
I feel
what
like a
I
lot
think,
of people
but
too. I feel like a lot of people too, Chad and Lina, they go in and they actually don't like either. Usually they have a choice between two, and they don't necessarily, in the general anyway, they don't really like either one, and they end up voting for the one that they, don't like the least.
Yeah.
Does that make
I
sense?
know. Well,
Like,
yeah, because our campaigns are like, okay, well, my pollster told me that people really like, they really like lollipops. So I'm going to be the lollipop candidate. And then they're like, they go out there and they're like, if you elect me, there's going to be lollipops everywhere. Like, you won't be able to wake up without a lollipop. And then the other person goes, that's the anti-lollipop person. That's like, you'll never see a lollipop anytime in your life. And like, there's all these people that are like, lollipops are okay. I'll like have one every once in a while, but who the hell are these crazy people? All they're talking about is not having them or having them everywhere. And like, so then they go to the polls and it's like, these people are ridiculous. Like, I don't wake up thinking about the number of lollipops I'm going to have. But like, you take that and you put it on these issues, and like, I feel like that's the discourse we have.
But
right?
also it happens like why they don't vote. That's the reason too.
Because you're talking about stupid stuff that doesn't affect my daily life.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. They're like, where am I going? Like, I don't have a preference.
But you're going regardless, right?
And I don't want the
other. But you're going to vote no matter what, right?
Yes, I'm going to vote. Because I'm going to...
Because you're a hard-headed Latina?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good.
She wants to have her voice be heard. And so are you a dual citizen now? Does Colombia allow it to be both, or do you have to choose? So you can be both. So does that mean you get to still vote in Colombia and you get to still vote here?
Yes, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they let you do that. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I like that.
So the United States goes to war with Colombia. What side are you on?
Oh, geez, Chad. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but it's a fair question. But for the record, my kids are dual citizens. They're Brazilian and U.S. citizens. I'm the only one that's not a dual citizen. So
what would you do?
Because
now you are divided.
I got a Paul Revere outfit, right? And if they want to, everybody knows where my heart lies.
Well,
but,
my husband
although
says,
I love Brazil, but there's no question about
my husband says we go to Colombia.
My gosh.
See?
This is going to lead into a whole nother podcast about dual citizenship and whether this is a danger to our autonomy and patriotism and all that other stuff. Oh, wow.
Did you have any in your whole process that you went through to become a U.S. citizen, Lina, was there anything that really surprised you about it, or anything that was like really bureaucratic or difficult? Like, what were the obstacles? Do you have any, or was it pretty smooth?
The obstacles were definitely when President Trump got into, office.
Yeah. So the first time or the second? I guess this is the second time he was elected.
The second time, yes.
Okay.
So the first time was okay.
Took office in January 25.
Yeah,
right?
but even though you were going through and doing everything legally, you did everything right, and it still was.
It still was like trouble. Yes.
Trouble.
Yes.
So like, what kind of trouble did they make?
They actually review even more your documents, even you have everything right and everything legal. Like, I was always here on visas. All my documents were always, correct. I
You
make
never
sure of
overstayed your
that.
welcome. You didn't break any
Never.
rules along the process. You were really sort of careful and diligent about following
Wait,
the
you
rules.
followed all the
Yeah.
rules?
All the rules.
You're not a true
Yeah.
American. We don't follow the rules around here.
Bunch of rule
You
breakers.
break
but
all
okay.
the rules. But yeah, I think the obstacles were more when he got into office and then they started like, oh, now we have a new immigration process that even my process into the, in the website, when you go to the USCIS, you check your process, your number and all that stuff. Then a month later, they were like, sorry, you cannot see your process. So I couldn't
They
even
sort of
see
cut off like the website, your
everything.
ability to sort of see where you were.
Yeah, you couldn't even see how was your process. And
Okay.
the times of waiting, they completely changed too. So I was
They made them
like,
longer, I've assumed,
Yeah.
because they're basically going over and trying to figure out, like, they're doing a double look, I guess,
yeah.
or a
And
triple
then
look.
now I get into this moment where my green card expires, right?
Oh my God.
And then
Oh
I
my
call and they're like, oh, you're fine. You have a document. But then we just suggest that maybe you don't travel outside the country. So it's like, then what's the
Yeah.
deal then? I'm still resident, right? But I
But
get
it
scared.
expired because it was like you were on track, but then they changed the process. And so then something happened, and it's almost like, and then you have no, you also have no visibility into the process at that point. So they really made it harder. And they definitely made it probably a lot more stressful, because if they're saying, oh, everything's fine, but you might not want to travel, like, that's a pretty crazy
Didn't you
thing
get
to say.
stopped?
Yeah.
Didn't you get stopped recent, or something? Didn't you get asked for
Yeah.
papers?
So I still had before my green card expired and all that, like I traveled outside the country. I went to Colombia with my husband, and then we were coming back, getting into United States. I show all my documents and, and I'm like, yeah, here's my husband, he's the one, my sponsor, right? Because that's how it happens.
And he
they're
has
like,
his
you're
passport.
Fine. Exactly. And they're like, you're fine. I passed, all the customs, everything. And we started walking. And then this officer starts running and comes and grabs me and he says like, stop right here. I need to check your documents again. And I'm like, okay. Like, is something wrong? It's like, well, you're Colombian, you never know. And that part was like,
They said those words to you?
Yes. And it got me really upset. And I just looked like, so my husband just grabbed me like, don't say anything. Like, you're fine. And I was just like, yeah, but why he has to say those things? Like,
that's terrible.
It really got me mad. But then he checked the documents, and then another officer came, and I'm just like standing there, all the people looking at me. And I'm like, I haven't done anything wrong, so I'm just going to stay here. They check all the documents. They're like, yeah, you're fine. You can go. I'm like, wow. So
the only time I ever had my papers checked like that was when I was literally on an East German train in the 80s before the Berlin Wall came down. And it was terrifying to have these, East German guards with machine guns literally saying like, papers, please. And, I was just a kid pretty much, like maybe my early, I was maybe like 19, 20 years old traveling. But I remember what that felt like, Lina, and it's just, it's so different than how it used to be. That's what I want to try to tell you. It did not used to be like this in this country. The culture has shifted. It has changed. And I'm just praying that it shifts back. It's not who we are as Americans. It's not what we were taught in our civics classes about who we are as Americans. And 10 years ago, the script just flipped politically. And so like everything that we were taught was not that would ever happen to you in this country.
Remember, the
right?
immigration issue is one of the big reasons he won. But see, I think that's this is my personal viewpoint is that it's the miscalculus that we went so far the other direction of, okay, let's just like get rid of balls, don't have anything, right? Which is, I think, you can speak, you have your own opinion, but I just think it's unfair to people like my wife and yourself who are sitting there. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time and you're following the rules, right? And then we just ignore the fact that somebody else next to you didn't do anything. They just showed up and like is living just like you are. And, you know, I think that's the reaction to it. And then we go and you go, okay, well then let's go and you know, start asking people for their papers and stuff. And it's like going back to what we were talking about. It's like the lollipop stuff. It's like, no, I don't want everybody to just walk in, but I don't want to have people who are here legitimately worried that they're going to be asked for their papers every 2 seconds. Like, is there not like,
or that they're going to get taken away from their family and their kids,
correct,
or that they're going to
so,
maybe you shouldn't travel. Like, that's just insane. It's insane. And it's true. It's true, Chad. Like, I don't want people coming here without going through the process. And I respect anybody who does go through the process. And if they do go through the process and they are following the rules and they are playing by the rules, this country, you know, this country wants you. This country needs you. We need immigrants to come here to make this country, you know, to continue to make it what it is, to make it great, to make it different and distinct from any other place on the planet, you know? And this president has gone a long way
now you're
towards
personalizing it.
Well, but you know what, Chad, it didn't used to be like that, you know.
No, I know. I told you, I've said, I think he totally screwed this issue up. He had a really big opportunity to do it right, and it's always the same thing. Like the hardest part about good politicians is standing up to your friends and telling them, right? And that's what I think. That's why he's basically let his friends who have a very hardline position that I don't think is in sync with the average day person run his policy, which is ironic because everybody talks about how Trump just does what he wants. But I mean, if you go back to he's the only president that he's been on record saying, you know, we got to do stuff about DACA and have a transition period and get them right. Like he's not, I don't think on a personal level, nearly as hardline as the positions he's run. And it's like, okay, this is a guy who doesn't listen to anybody, but for some reason, he's just been run over on this issue. And I think
he's listening to Stephen Miller. He is listening to Stephen Miller. And they have quotas now, and they're taking, I mean, you know what's happening with ICE. And now the Democrats are saying basically abolish ICE. So they've gone to this extreme other side, right?
No lollipops, right?
So our system, Lina, this is what's messed up, right?
Yeah. You thought my lollipop analogy didn't make any sense, but now put this in terms of lollipops. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They want lollipops everywhere, asking you for your paper. And now the other position, no, I don't want no lollipops.
Well, I mean, basically, new citizens like you, Lina. Yeah. No, new citizens like you, Lina, are you know, you're the future. You're the future in California politics for sure. And I hope you participate, and I'm glad you're here. And I really hope that you're not having to travel with your passport. But I did do a story about Monique Limon, who is the, you know, one of the most powerful women in all of California politics. This woman has lived here her entire life, and she still travels with her passport. She doesn't go anywhere without her passport. Yeah. She doesn't drive to the market without her passport in case somebody asks her. This is one of the most powerful women in all of California politics, having to travel with her passport. So there's this huge number of our fellow Californians, of our fellow American citizens, and their families, and their, you know, I can't wait for this era to have passed and to be over and to be behind us. And, you know, we don't go back to some sort of open border situation where it's total, you know, mayhem and lawlessness, but, you know, where this sort of, you know, the feeling that you're on an East German train, or, you know, or you're in Santa Monica, like, you know, that should be different. It should be different. So that's in my opinion.
You know, we got a lot going on here again. IVN. It's interesting seeing Ethan over there on the producer side of the table. Right?
Is Ethan going to come talk to us now about the LA Times?
Ethan stays over there. I like Lina on the podcast better.
Well, okay. I mean, Lina, did you know that we were in the Los Angeles Times? There was a front page story in the LA Times a few days ago, and More Choice California was featured in that piece. We're very excited.
We got some very, very big news that's going to come out on some of that front, but we're going to leave that to you. You know, the way you find out if you're listening now is to subscribe, because I'm sure we'll talk about it on the next podcast. Come to IVN, which has been very active. You see the readership climbing quite a bit. Ethan's still killing it on Instagram. Had some viral ones last week, but it's been great. We've had some great submissions, right? We always say, you don't agree with something, write your own. That's the ethic of IVN, is like, I don't care. What the whole purpose of government is to get people who don't agree with each other to talk, right? Otherwise, why do you have the government? You just, right? So, I mean, that's kind of the ethic we try to have, which is why Cara and I argue it out about all kinds of stuff. And and I'm glad to have you on. Now I can argue with you even more.
Even more.
Necesitamos hablar en español. Puedo hablarte también. Un poco.
I want to see how the argument is going to be in Spanish, though.
Vámonos. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lina, and congratulations
Lina.
again.
We love you.
You know, our American producer, Lina Alvarez. Welcome. Thank you. It's good to see you on this side of the camera. And all of you who have been following, supporting, signing up for the email, forwarding things to your friends, getting involved in the conversation. We can't thank you enough. We're excited. This is still the beginning, and we will see you again next week, I'm sure.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Adios. Bienvenidos. Bienvenido.
Bienvenidos.
This is the Independent Voter Podcast, sponsored by the Independent Voter Project and produced by Olas Media. Remember, you can always find the Independent Voter Podcast or the How It Really Works series at ivn.us. Follow and subscribe at olasmedia.com.
Olas Media.